All right, so recently we were doing nonfiction book clubs, or we were looking at nonfiction in many different ways, and there were some of you that read the Omnivores Dilemma, which is a really cool book about processed foods, and I actually affectionately call it the corn book because it does go through talking about a lot of different ways that corn shows up in our grocery stores, like in our chicken nuggets, even in our ice cream, places we just don't suspect. But we're going to continue working with nonfiction today, and so I'm going to do this lesson with you online so that you can follow along and then also apply what you've learned here today to your work as you go further. But what I'm going to concentrate on today is central idea. We have looked at central idea in many different ways, both in Omnivores Dilemma and in other of our nonfiction books. But specifically today, I want to talk about how an author might refine or develop his or her central idea. And so to do that, I want you to understand that readers will analyze how that central idea is developed or refined by paying attention to the most important sentence in this particular section of the novel. And then we're going to even pay attention to the most important phrase in the novel or the passage that we're looking at. And finally, the most important word. We're going to get down to sort of funneling down to the most important word that is in this passage that we're going to look at today. And we do that so that we can connect and explain the relationship between the sentence and the phrase and the word, and show how the author develops or refines their central idea and whether or not we can critique whether or not it's effective. You know, is he doing a good job? Michael Pollan is the author of this book. Is he doing a good job of refining or developing his particular central idea? So on the screen we have 7. It's chapter 7 of the book, The Meal, but I wanted you to be able to read it as well as I'm reading it out loud, so I've got it up there for you to see. And we're just going to start right away with reading. The meal at the end of the industrial food chain that begins in an Iowa cornfield is prepared by McDonald's and eaten in a moving car. Or, at least, this was the version of the industrial meal I chose to eat. It could easily have been another. The myriad streams of commodity corn, after being variously processed and turned into meat, converge in all sorts of different meals I might have eaten at KFC or Pizza Hut or Applebee's, or prepared myself from ingredients bought at the supermarket. Industrial meals are all around us. After all, they make up food, the food chain from which most of us eat most of the time. My 11-year-old son, Isaac, was more than happy to join me at McDonald's. He doesn't get there often, so it's a treat. For most American children today, it is no longer such a treat. 1 in 3 of them eat fast food every single day. Judith, my wife, was less enthusiastic. She's careful about what she eats, and having a fast food lunch meant giving up a real meal, which seemed a shame. Isaac pointed out that she could order one of the McDonald's new premium salads with a Paul Newman dressing. I read in the business pages that these salads are a big hit, but even if they weren't, they'd probably stay on the menu strictly for their rhetorical usefulness. The marketers have a term for what a salad or veggie burger does for a fast food chain: denying the denier. These healthier menu items hand the child who wants to eat fast food a sharp tool with which to chip away at his parents' objections. But Mom, you can get the salad. Okay, so I'm going to stop there because I want to think about the central idea as it is. And so I'm going to put up my tool, which is the funnel. And inside of this funnel, I want to think about the first thing that I need to think about, which is the central idea. And oftentimes, you're going to have to either infer the central idea, or you're going to have to be given it, or you're going to have to come up with it on your own. But today, I'm going to give it to you. So Michael Pollan does a good job throughout the entire book of putting his central idea in focus. And I'm just going to paste it here so you can see it. So the central idea of this passage and of the book in general is the food we choose to eat is often a compromise of what's in the eater's best interest for their health, and then what is also convenient, because it's super convenient just to go through the drive-thru and grab, a quick cheeseburger. So if I keep that in my mind, I still want to go back to the text, and I want to look, what is it that I'm thinking is the most important sentence, because we're going to start at the larger part. So if the larger part is the sentence, in this that I read, what do I feel is the most important? And to me, it's the myriad streams of commodity corn, after being variously processed and turned to meat, converge in all sorts of different meals that I might have eaten, either at KFC or Pizza Hut or Applebee's. And I'm going to put that one right there in my funnel for the most important. Now I've got to determine what I think is the most important phrase so far that I've read. And for me, in order to make this go a little bit faster, I've kind of pre-selected these things. It's this one. They'd probably stay on the menu strictly for their rhetorical usefulness, and that's right here in the passage in the second paragraph, excuse me. And then finally, I've got to decide what is the most important word that I think, or that I want to pull from this passage for my funnel. So I'm going to go back to my funnel, and here I'm going to put the word enthusiastic, and that comes, let's see, somewhere over here. Right there it is. So this is when he says Judith, my wife, was less enthusiastic. So it's cool to just pick your sentence, pick your phrase, and pick your favorite word. But what we have to do then is describe the relationship between them. I'm just going to adjust these a little bit. Sort of move things around. You should be able to do this too. All right. So it's not enough to just pick. I've also then got to explain why it is that I feel like, or what are the connections between my sentence, my phrase, and my word, and how do I know that there's a refinement or a change or a developing of the central idea. So I will say that I feel like between, it's just out a little bit so you can see, between the phrase and the sentence, I think that there's the idea that where you choose to eat, no matter where you do, right, processed food is going to be on the menu. So there's a connection between my phrase and my sentence that you can choose to eat at Applebee's, but you can also choose to eat at KFC. One's, more of a sit-down, one's more of a fast food, but they're all going to have processed food. So that's the connection that I feel was strong between the sentence and the phrase. Then I've also got to talk about what is my connection down here between the phrase and the word. It's really important to me to look at that word enthusiastic. Enthusiasm for the meal that's bad gets the son to he wants it, right? To then reason with his mother that she can still pick the healthier salad that's on the meal, and that reasoning is enthusiasm for him, but she's still not enthusiastic because she knows of the health, or of the health consequences. So then finally, besides just justifying my phrase and my sentence and my word and how they all connect, I need to make sure that I understand all of the connections on how Michael Pollan, the author, is truly connecting his central idea in all the things that he says here. I'm just going to move this over so we can see it. All right, so this is sort of like the synthesis, if you will, of all of everything I've done so far. So what I have here is the relationship that the author creates with the word enthusiasm, which is a phrase and the sentence, further develops a compromise, because the central idea, remember, we're compromising what we need to eat for what's healthy, for what's more convenient, right? Instead of having the healthy food, that's our central idea. Instead of having the healthy food, we choose the not so healthy food because it's so much more fast. And so we often have this decision that we have to make when we're having to choose between a healthy meal and a convenient meal. And so the prevalence of processed food, which is in my sentence, only helps to sort of make the choice to eat healthy food even harder. If it's always everywhere, then it's going to be even harder for us to make the choice of eating healthy if it's not easy to access. And then also, especially when somebody in the family is excited about going out to eat at a fast food, you don't want to burst their bubble, so that makes it harder too. So overall, Michael Pollan has told us that these are the things that we have to deal with in our society, but we need to be aware of them in order to make better choices. And this is how I went about finding out how his central idea was refined and how he went about developing it. So what is it that you're going to do? So I've created a funnel for you that looks just like this. And, if I go ahead and just take everything out real quick, like that, you should have a file that looks like this. I want you to make a copy of it with your Google Docs. And let me just move this around to see if I can get you to understand what I'm saying. Yeah. All right. So when you're in Google Docs, you can go to File, and click Make a Copy. So there's access to this on our e-class page in the Writer's Workshop, and I want you to go ahead and make a copy of it. And then I want you to go through to the next 2 paragraphs, starting at which, that goes all the way down to about right there. It's not that much. And I want you to funnel doing the same thing that I did, but this time you're going to use the same central idea, but you're going to use a blank canvas so that you can, put your stuff on there as well. Okay? So go ahead, make the copy, and begin, and then put it in the Dropbox when you're done.